From the Central Asia part of the Indian subcontinent comes in three distinct bouquet of curries. We have, of course, the salans, we have the kormas, and we have the kaliyas. Well, kaliyas are also known as Khaliya or Qalia, depending on the region. Hey guys, it's me Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. Today I'm making a quick, simple and easy recipe with minimalistic ingredients, and that is Mutton Kalia. Let's begin. Let's head to the kitchen. The first ingredient that's required are red onions, and these need to be thinly sliced because the next step is browning the onions. Well, onions in this recipe also help and work as a thickening agent, and that's the reason why this recipe has more of onions. Well, this recipe also has a heavy use of oil because of an ingredient called tarri. Well, tarri is also known as rogan, and that is actually the floating oil on top of any curry or any gravy. So here in this case, lots of oil, but of course, to each their own. You can reduce it, increase it, that's completely personal. Once the oil heats up, we'll start adding in the garam masala. To begin with, of course, a stick of cinnamon, a blade of mace, a few cloves, few peppercorns and few green cardamoms. Well, if you see the recipe of a Qalia, this is actually made with ingredients that were available then. To begin with, of course, lots of oil, garam masala, and into this, red onions that are sliced and ready. For the onions to cook faster, I'm adding in a generous amount of salt. With this, the water of course will start releasing and the caramelization will happen faster. Well, this recipe ideally and generally calls for brown onions or brown onion paste. Like I said, the thickener in this recipe are onions. Well, this is a recipe that uses just a few ingredients, let's say nominal ingredients, and these are the ingredients that were actually available then. As simple as ginger paste, coriander powder, turmeric powder and curds. Between 1327 and 1329, Muhammad bin Tughlaq was changing his base from Delhi to Daulatabad. Well, that's on their way to Aurangabad. And that's where the soldiers kind of felt hungry and the Khan Sama wanted to prepare something. He made a simple curry which was actually for the poor. The ingredients that you would see in this curry are absolutely simple, as much as ginger, as much as coriander, turmeric, salt, water and some whole spices. As simple as that. Well, I personally like a touch of red chili in something like this because that kind of accentuates the color of this. But otherwise, predominantly, this is a yellow based curry. Once these red onions just kind of begin to turn golden brown in color, like this, we start adding in the pieces of meat. Well, this is the recipe for Mutton Kalia, if you remember very clearly, and that is why the cuts are actually the cheaper cuts, because this was originally made for soldiers, remember? Now, in this case, of course, I'm not using cheaper cuts. I'm of course using in the nalli and the chops and things like that, but traditionally and originally, cheaper cuts. Mix all of this well, and this just kind of needs to sear the outside of the meat. The meat needs to be added at the right stage because if you do not, the onions will start over browning or rather blackening, and that would leave a burnt flavor and you don't want something like that. Sear all of this well, and then let's start adding in the other critical ingredients, beginning with of course ginger paste. Mind you, not ginger garlic paste, only ginger paste. To this, let's add in the powder spices, in this case coriander powder. Along with this, turmeric. Lots of turmeric because this is a turmeric flavored dish, but of course, you do not need to overdo the turmeric because that will also kind of give it a bitter aftertaste and you don't want that. I'm adding in just a touch of red chili powder, and that is just kind of to balance the color and flavor of the turmeric, and this one is actually not required. Finally, I'm adding in curds. Just whip this lightly and let's add this in. Let's mix this well. The flame needs to be constantly high. You need to sear the sides, and that's about it. We need to cover this next. Lower the flame and allow this to cook for at least 15 minutes. And in the bargain, you'll see and realize and notice that water from the meat starts releasing, and this initially needs to start cooking in the same water. Well, of course, there are richer versions of a Kalia as well, but nevertheless, that is for places in Bengal or Lucknow or Delhi. But a Kalia from Aurangabad is actually made two ways. One is predominantly flavored with yogurt, and the other one is predominantly flavored with lemon. Now, this is one of those optimum ways of utilizing an entire carcass. Well, if you see a Kundan Kalia or a Chandi Kalia or a Mahi Kalia, well, Mahi Kalia of course is fish, but if you see a Kundan Kalia or a Chandi Kalia, that is actually gold or silver. The gold one actually has saffron instead of turmeric because of course it's for the rich, it's for the royalty. The Chandi Kalia has nut paste because that's where it gets that whitish tinge, and that's where it kind of sparkles like silver, and that's where the name Chandi Kalia. Chaman Kalia is something that is made with paneer, and chaman is paneer. But this recipe, like I said, is for the soldiers, and this is the optimum way of utilizing the entire carcass. Now in this you can use the cuts of the goat that otherwise may not be used in a regular curry or a gravy. So here, go all wild. But for your family, of course, you can use the primrose cuts as well. Well, there's another recipe which is a Band Gobi Kalia. Now, this is an inspiration from the dolmas. Well, dolmas are stuffed wine leaves, but of course, we in India do not use wine leaves so much. So someone came up with this genius thought of utilizing cabbage leaves, and that's where you have keema stuffed dolmas, or you have potato and mutton stuffed dolmas, which over the years became Band Gobi Kalia. So that is also a specialty, especially for the vegetarians out there. The meat has released some water. Let's have a quick check. Stir this well. Without the addition of water, this is all of it that's been released from the meat itself. And this water is extremely important because that is actually all the flavor of the meat. Well, at this stage, let's add in a cup full of water. Along with this, of course, we also need to check for salt. Of course, some more salt. Need to increase the flame and allow this to cook for 20 minutes on high flame or till the meat is completely well cooked. Well, an alternate method of cooking the meat is also pressure cooking this, and that can be done as easy as converting all of this or transferring all of this into a pressure pan or a pressure cooker, and on low heat with the whistle on, you need to cook for 20 minutes or for 4 whistles. Remember, it's either or. You either lower the flame and cook for 20 minutes or increase the flame and cook under 4 whistles. Remember that. Well, there's another ingredient that quite finds its way into a Kalia, and that is bhilave ki chironji. Now, chironji is something that's extensively used, especially in a Kalia. And along with this, only and only if you're using chironji seeds, you could use a little bit of poppy seeds and a little bit of desiccated coconut for some extra richness. But I'm saying that again, this is a recipe for the poor, and these additions are only and only when you cook for the royalty. Remember that. With this, our Mutton Kalia is done and ready. Off goes the flame, and you need not open this for at least 10 minutes because you want the steam to kind of subside, and that will also add in to a very important ingredient in this recipe, and that is bringing all the oil on top, and that will be the tari or the rogan. And if you remember, I added in just a touch of red chili powder. That will make it nice, vibrant and red in color. So let's wait and watch. The steam has subsided, and here if you come closer, the rogan or the tari is looking as vibrant and beautiful. And this now gets one quick stir and gets served. With this, a Mutton Kalia is done and ready. Well, a Naan Kalia, which is a specialty from Aurangabad, is eaten in an extremely peculiar way. Of course, it's eaten with naan, and the naan gets kind of dunked into this. It's not that you kind of scoop it with a cup, what you need to do is break this into these little pieces, and these little pieces are called chura or churi. So it gets kind of topped up with this, the entire naan, like so. And with the help of the tari, which is the rogan on top, it actually gets eaten with fingers dunked like so. Well, that's where you have the beauty of Qalia. Well, nevertheless, it's still rich. It's got a lot of flavor, and trust me, this is absolutely neutral. Well, the amount of oil in this is required because that kind of adds in to the nutrition of this recipe. Well, this is also a recipe which was made so that the soldiers could kind of sustain for hours and for days. So this one is power packed, but nevertheless, the oil can certainly reduce. Well, I have also been told that in Aurangabad, the tari is served separately. So if you're one of those, go wild with oil. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, Qalia is done and ready. And this one is Mutton Kalia. Make this for your family, make this for your friends, and trust me, they're going to thank you for the rest of your lives. Anyway, on that note, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Get Curried. And for more such stunning recipes, stay tuned.